Well, you can tell by looking around how much emphasis we're putting on mulching at our studio gardens these days. We talk about it a lot on the show, and I just can't seem to tell you enough about all of the benefits associated with it. And just as a reminder, I want to emphasize those to you just one more time. Mulching not only helps in preventing soil erosion, but it will also help moderate the soil temperatures during our hot summer. It also helps conserve the moisture. And one of the big reasons that we use it is to aid in weed control. Depending upon the thickness, it really does a great job in keeping the weeds out. It's also very beneficial to us when we want to keep the lower branches on trees and we don't want to mow around them. We extend the mulching bed around those tree branches. And of course, mulching is just one of those positive things that we can do to help recycle, etc. But one of the most important things that we use mulching for is probably one of the #1 killers of trees or shrubs, and that's with the lawnmower and weed eater. And we have a little stem end or a trunk end of a tree that we've kept over the years to demonstrate this, but this is where an individual had continually hit this with the weed eater, and they managed to girdle it and eventually kill the tree. Putting a mulch around your trees will keep you away from them and really help stop that problem. So we talk about the positives of mulching, but of course there's a few negatives too. Depending on what material you use, they could be costly. And of course, but depending upon the selection, if it's very light or porous, it may blow away in our Oklahoma windy conditions. But I think one of the most frustrating things to individuals is when you first put the mulch on, and we've got some areas behind me that we've just recently mulched, the color looks real fresh and really attractive. But as weeks or months go on, it tends to discolor a lot, and you can see even with the moisture underneath here, it looks a lot lighter than what's been exposed to the sunlight on this particular bed that we mulched earlier on. Well, most individuals or landscapers, to solve that problem of discoloration or fading, usually will just come in and put another thin layer of mulch on to try to freshen it up. But as usual, the industry has come up with a new product that we refer to as Mulch Colorants. And we've got some here, and what it is, it's just a dye, a landscape dye that you can spray on to give it a rejuvenated or fresh appearance. Now, one thing that you need to remember on these Mulch Colorants, they're really not regulated by EPA, at least not now, because they're not considered a pesticide. But they are a dye. So again, it may cause skin irritations, and it's a good idea to wear glasses or goggles with your gloves just so you don't get any kind of skin irritation and you can protect yourself safety-wise there. The other thing about it is that since it is a dye, it really is very water soluble. So it mixes up great with water, and when you spray it on, you're going to get it occasionally splashed on some of your plant material. And it's not toxic or harmful to plants or pets that you may have. And one of the nice things too that these companies are coming out with are many different shades or colors. Now on this particular one, we're using one called Cypress. And you can see we can thicken it up and make it darker by holding it a little bit longer. But look what it's done after it's dried. It really has a nice contrast, a real nice fresh look to it. And of course it looks a little bit too strong with the fresh, but it will dry out. Now, some other benefits too, the research has shown that it's relatively inexpensive with the number of applications that you put it on. Now, you can buy a bottle and it can be quite costly initially, but over the long run it's not. Also, some of the products will last anywhere from 4 to 6 months up to 1 to 2 years before you have to reapply it. And again, if you do get it on some of your plant material, you can just wash it off pretty quickly before it dries. Now, because it's one of the new products, there's only 3 that are out on the market at this time. But one thing that you need to remember, they all work better on porous types of mulch. We've got here just the shredded up tree branches that we get from our local tree trimmers. But even the coarse nuggets that you can purchase, it works great on those for rejuvenating them. Or even something like pine straw that we use quite a bit too. So it's great for that. And I want to let you know the 3 that are on the market right now, again, just because you may find it difficult to find them. This particular one is New Mulch, There's also bark renewer and mulch magic. So again, check with your garden centers because it's one of those new things. They may not have it, but your full service garden center should be able to track it down, or especially your landscape companies. So if you've got some of these mulched areas that are fading out on you and you want to rejuvenate them, this is a good product to try, but don't let it substitute, because in 2 or 3 years you're still going to need to replace the mulch just because it will weather away, and once those roots start growing up, you need to replace it. So it does alleviate the problem for a while, and it may be one of those fun things you want to try and see if it adds to your landscape.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.